every day I come across something where I say to myself, oh my, I can't believe we're still doing it this way. Like if we did this in Sigma, it would, it might take us 5 hours to stand something up, but it'd be 5 hours that saves 100 hours a year worth of work. My name is Riley Owens, and I am a controller of financial reporting and analytics with TEKsystems. TEKsystems is an IT services and consulting company under the Allegis Group umbrella with well over, we're a global organization, so we've got well over, I think, 50,000 employees all over the globe. I personally am our controller of financial reporting and analytics, and I oversee a team of 11 analysts, Chase included here, supporting our finance, sales, and operations organizations.
I am Chase Brookmyer. I'm a financial operations analyst. And like Riley says, I support a lot of our front office reporting and sales teams, but primarily I am working on converting our legacy Excel-based reports and Access-based reports into Sigma currently.
Great.
As Chase mentioned, I would say my team before having Sigma, we were probably refreshing anywhere up to 150 Excel reports a week for whether that was finance teams, sales teams, various operational teams around our, operation support group, corporate teams. And I think with Sigma, like our first step was using the tool to automate a lot of that reporting, right? Is that if you're familiar with Excel-based reporting, it's not, you can write macros and you can have it connected directly to data sources, but it still requires in a lot of cases you to go in there, refresh it, save it, send it an email, do whatever, right? So we have, we probably consolidated 70 plus of those reports into more robust Sigma dashboards that are able to contain significantly more data than Excel can contain, right? So we're able to do longer look backs over time and more robust trending analysis. We've also started doing a lot of sort of if-then analysis, a lot of compensation-related analysis using the tool, and just applying data to much larger data sets than we've ever really been able to when we have the limitations of, row limitations of Excel, right? Like once you get over 200,000 rows in an Excel file, sum if isn't going to work all that great, or account if is not going to work all that great. Whereas we can do the same calculations on 100 million records in Snowflake in Sigma in a matter of seconds. So that's part of it. And then we've also started using Sigma quite a bit for just data maintenance, input tables, managing custom hierarchies that we were previously tracking and managing in local access databases, local Excel files, which has sort of enabled us to pipe more of these custom hierarchies into our enterprise data and enterprise reports, instead of them just sitting in, disparate Excel files going to a handful of different users, but being unable to use those data hierarchies across our full stack of reporting and analysis needs. A few months ago, a few of my partners that manage our contracts team approached me to take a look at their document intake process. And I actually think Chase was involved in the creation of this Excel file years and years and years ago. But it had turned into something that I think was probably beyond what we would have ever envisioned Excel being used for. So this team that we have has over 20 contract specialists and contract managers that sit both domestically and in India. And they are intaking hundreds of client documents a week. That's contracts, SOWs, NDAs, just anything and everything that's coming in through this team for review and red lines and approval. And they are tracking every document that comes in, the customer that's associated to, and then a handful of other business attributes in a shared Excel file that I think has grown to be over 30,000 records, right? So you've got 20 people working in a shared Excel file that they're intending on using for managing and maintaining like balanced workloads. And I think it's got additional formulas and stuff in it, right? And it was crashing frequently, and because it's stored in a local Excel format, they didn't really have the ability to stitch it together with our enterprise data and what we have available to us in Snowflake. So it was difficult to provide any financial reporting, right? And what our revenue and financial performance looks like associated to some of these contracts that are coming in. We were unable to really tie it together with our CLM tool and all of the data that gets stored in there. So from a reporting standpoint, the actual process of tracking all this stuff in Excel was difficult in and of itself. But then we had a total inability to really report on any sort of trending, how long it's taking contracts to be signed, how long it's taking them for them to move through the various stages of approval, and then finally, like, how our ability to provide any insight into maybe our financial exposure if we've got a particularly high risk agreement coming in for a relatively large existing customer of ours. So I think Chase and I both took a look at it and said there's definitely an opportunity here for refinement. And I think this was Chase's first data app that he built on top of this thing, and I think he built something really cool that the intent is, right, that instead of data being entered in an Excel file, data gets entered into this data app, which then allows us to sort of connect it to all of our enterprise objects and enterprise data and be able to provide real-time updates and real-time metrics around our contract workflow, and then be able to sort of provide views around outstanding contracts or contract intake to all the different parts of the organization that we are capturing when we're loading this data.
On top of it is reporting as well, but the initial ask was intake. So using modals, I was able to put a button to a modal, and then it'll open up a form for them. Give them a list of controlled drop-downs that clean up the input process. We get people putting in different naming conventions for different customers, or uppercase, lowercase, everything that could go wrong, renaming columns even. This gives us the control to make that data clean now. I also try to pre-populate stuff to keep it clean as well, to make it user-friendly. So if someone goes in, it'll automatically pull their name in. It'll pull the current date in if it's a new document, to try to make it easier in that aspect. And then as well as, what if they accidentally type in something and try to submit it? I want them to know what they did wrong. Trying to make it, again, user-friendly. Hey, when they try to submit, open up an error screen that shows them essentially what field they may have entered wrong or what field they're not allowed to submit. So then they can go back, make the change, and then submit the document. There's other views in here that shows what they've submitted before, if the document's been submitted already. So you can look at, maybe somebody already went in and put that document in here. So there's no overlap, no duplication. It was really something I've never done before. So a lot of it was, all right, what have I had to fill in my own basically personal life? When you go to apply for something, how does it look? What's the best version of it? How clean can I make it? Originally I had a contracts form, and then I had a contracts update form. And I'm like, wait, I don't need two forms. I can have one form with a button and an action that does different things. So then I delete. So a lot of it was trial and error. I started over. I pulled in the actions based on, if something was filled in, it would do a different action. So a lot of it is action oriented, specifically on what the user wants to do. When I finally got what I wanted it to look like, it was probably 8 hours maybe, and then maybe a couple more hours to clean it up. So I would say anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. And that's coming from someone that has no experience in this development field. I just know what I wanted it to do, and the actions really made it simple for me. And then I guess you could answer that next question.
Yeah, I'll speak to adoption. So we've done demos and presentations to our key stakeholders, and they love it, right? And it's a group of people that hasn't really used Sigma, but all they know is that they really don't like their current process. We're still working through what training may need to look like and what the actual switch over, right? Because we're going to have to migrate all that existing data into Sigma, which should be relatively easy, just a CSV upload or something along those lines for getting that data housed into Snowflake and into an input table. I think the main piece is just going to be getting everyone trained, but the leaders themselves really like what they see, and they really see the value in being able to provide some of the output reporting that this team right now is spending hours on each week to just try to stitch together some view of like financial performance for our top agreements, and for us to be able to create something that just does that automatically, because as Chase mentioned, we're going to control the data input, right? We're not going to let people choose their own story with what the data is entered. We've got it tied to our enterprise data as far as the values that are allowed to be loaded in to really ensure that we're getting good data entry around these things. It'll just enable so many things and such a beginning to end view of the contract life cycle and how long things are taking, how many things are outstanding, what our risk points are. And this is information that our president has asked for previously and is interested in. So just knowing that we can roll that stuff up in real time and not have it be a total exercise to get put together and presented to him would just be a huge win.
So initially, I'd like them to come into this dashboard and say, do I have current contracts or do I want to submit a new contract? So they click an open contract form button. It will open a blank form for them, but it'll fill in the owner's name and the current date if that's what they want. Obviously, they can go in if it's a different owner and someone's submitting it to someone else, they can click on someone else's name. So I show asterisks here to say, hey, these are the details you need to fill in. So if I go through and forget to fill something in, I want them to be able to know what they missed. If I go through, here's my client, here's my vertical, here's my region, my offering. And then if there's no asterisk, that data is not necessary. So again, I missed document type. I'm going to submit now, just any comment. I'll go through. I was trying to make it clean, guide them through what they need to do, submit new contract. All right, submitting. Missing requirements, what happened? So we can go through and look and see what happened. It's at the top now. Document type is missing. So close it, takes me back to the form. All right, I'll put in a document type. Now I'll try to submit it. Let's see if it works. Okay, it works now. Again, here's a recap of what they're about to submit. It's another safety net that I'd like to add in here. It reads through everything they're about to submit. Have any contracts for this client been submitted in the last week? No, we're good to go. So there's going to be no duplication there. We can either submit and continue. Continue leads them back to the form. Close leads them back to the dashboard. So different buttons for different actions. So let's just say it's a week later. They want to come back in and update their document. They can go look for their document ID. It'll load that document back into the form based on what they submitted before. Loading screen. Everything's back in here. All right, let's say we returned it on the 28th and they're planning on executing that. Now we're finished. And again, this is all one form. I just have everything renaming itself based on the actions that the person is taking. Now I want to submit the update to the contract. Submit update. Again, let's look and see what we got. Well, it is the same contract I just submitted. One contract in the last week. Makes sense. Submit and close or continue. So I'm the document owner. And another area I wanted them to see is where are my documents and where can I see all of them right now? So it's submitting. It'll clear the form and it should open a blank form again. There we go. So if I close and I want to view my contracts, this is where we'll see the one I just submitted here. So this is another outlet I put in here as well. So it just shows every document I've submitted. And if it's the document I want to edit again, I made it another workaround of like, let me edit that. All right, so confirm that the below document needs updating. So it's going to load, again, another net to catch if they want to make changes or not. All right, yes, that's what I want. Continue. And it should load this back into the form again for more updates that I want to make. Now, I do have a view of the life cycle. So every time an update is made to a form, it doesn't delete and rewrite that row, it adds it to it. So we can see the changes throughout the timeframes. So if I close this, you can see I've made 2 updates and there's 2 lines for it. It's because I added the date return and the date execution. So we can track anything with this, and we can track all the updates that the user makes. We can tie this to our other data to pull in the entire life cycle of the contract if it comes through fruition.
I think I touched on this a little bit in my intro, but my team was spending, I don't know, Chase, what do you think the estimate is? Probably like 40 hours a week just on refreshing Excel-based reports across the whole group, right?
Yeah.
Automating that and putting more self-service reporting tools at the fingertips of our users has really cut down on a lot of what I would say the low value add work that my team was doing, right? Like I think that a lot of us would probably say that reporting, and especially the reporting in which the way we were doing it was not the favorite part of our job, right? We want to be doing analytics. We want to be digging into things. We want to be creating new things and pushing the envelope as far as what our overall understanding is of our business. Just being completely bogged down on a Thursday afternoon, because that's our normal reporting day, was a blocker to that exercise. So that's one piece, right? Automating all that. I think we've got other use cases with how we've used Sigma around forecasting and our ability to put like input tables into the hands of some of our finance leaders for them to be able to update data directly into Snowflake and our source system, and then be able to see outputs in real time of those forecasted amounts that they're loading in, cutting my team out as the data processors, right? Our old forecasting process was we'd get 15 updates, we'd have to go load them into an Excel file and then repost that Excel file. Well, now we just have users that are able to make those updates themselves, see those updates in real time, and then go about their day, right? And it doesn't require us at times being a choke point in that process and slowing things down because we had one master file that we needed to be maintaining, right? So that's been a huge win. Chase has done a lot of work with consolidating a lot of our, and I think I mentioned this earlier too, a lot of our disparate data sources, right? Different programs, different hierarchies sitting all over the place in disparate access dashboards, disparate Excel files. And we've been able to consolidate so much of that into Snowflake and into single source reporting objects, where we can now provide insights around overlap and crossover between leaders and some financial metrics that we have never been able to do before as an organization. And not it was difficult to do, but truly had never been able to do before as an organization, that now we're able to enable things and provide reporting around things and trending around things that, 3 years ago, before we had Sigma, I would have said, yeah, we could do it, but it'll probably take me a month just working nonstop in order to build something like that. So I think the speed to market has been a really significant improvement around certain things. So yeah, I just think the ability to automate things that, again, we had running in Excel, and the fact that it plays nice in our enterprise environment, we're able to still, take that data and interact with it directly in the Snowflake console or wherever. It's created a really flexible environment for us to interact with and analyze data. I don't know, Chase, you want to field that one? I have some thoughts, but you built it, so.
I mean, I think a general rule of thumb is, can anything you're doing be better? And is it a task doing it in general? And I don't know, Sigma, I'm hands off on a lot of stuff now. I put it in there and it's good to go, essentially, right? I don't have to export something from Snowflake or Access that's only a 1 week view and do that 12 times to get 12 weeks of data, right?
Yeah.
I can just put a time frame in there and let it run. So I don't know, it's made my life easier in that aspect as well. Just like you were saying, it's more and it runs just as efficient or better.
I think Chase and I are so sold on the product as a whole. Like, I think when Chase and I look at it, we're like, we can do anything. Like, there's really anything from a data processing standpoint that we can build or figure out in Sigma. I think the tough thing is getting all of the business users that maybe aren't data folks thinking about things in the same way, right? And that's a paradigm that we've had to kind of shift, and I've continued to try to break through in our organization. Is that I think there's so many people that are used to the old way of doing things that they just sort of assume that there's certain things that can't be done, right? And that we have to do them the old way, and they don't even ask the question to come and say, hey, could Sigma do this better? So I take it upon myself to constantly be out interfacing with our business leaders and business users and finding opportunities where I can say, like, Sigma could make this better. It's like, you're probably not even thinking about it, but Sigma could make this significantly better, right? And it's just part of my job is that I come in contact with so many of those things, and I have so much awareness of all the different processes that are running around the organization. And every day I come across something where I say to myself, oh my, I can't believe we're still doing it this way. Like, if we did this in Sigma, it would, it might take us 5 hours to stand something up, but it'd be 5 hours that saves 100 hours a year worth of work, right? So I think constantly, this is for the people. My advice for people is, like, continue to get in front of your business users and share the capabilities, so that when they are starting to think about how they're going to solve their next problem, it's not, hey, can we do this in Excel, or how do we do this manually? It's, can we automate this in Sigma? Right now, we've sort of used Sigma, and we've kept it somewhat close to the vest in mostly finance leaders using it. It's not, it's not fully our enterprise reporting tool, but I think more and more it's becoming our finance reporting and analytics tool. I think as we kind of move forward, especially with data apps, right, is I see so many opportunities for data apps to be used in widespread organizational data collection and analytics exercises. And I know Chase is all too familiar with a couple of those exercises that we are currently doing in Excel that, can go out to hundreds of people and be these just fully self-contained and automated things that right now are eating up tons of time. I'm excited for our ongoing journey in continuing to bring people onto this platform and continuing to find use cases for automating, collecting data with these data apps. I know in your winter product launch, you used a forecasting example that for me really resonated with our services organization and how our services organization forecasts, right? And I think I actually forwarded along that winter product launch to about 6 people internally. And I was like, this is what Sigma could do for something that we are currently doing completely manually in Excel. So it just more of that, right? And bringing more people onto it and using it as sort of our central data collection, data transfer, tool, I think would go a long way. It's coming from someone who, my team is typically in charge and tasked with a lot of those data collection exercises. So if nothing else, it makes my team's lives much easier.
Yeah, I'm excited for, like, just Sigma's partnership in general, because they're willing to grow and adapt. The amount of times I send them Loom videos or just the chat of, like, hey, I can't do this. Do you think we will be able to do this? And I'll send a video over to, like, Ben. He's like, hey, that's awesome. I'll send it to the development team. It's just great response. And then you'll get a month later, hey, we've added this. And I'm like, hey, that's kind of what I wanted a month ago. Sweet. So it's a quick turnaround time. It doesn't seem like there's really like not a bad suggestion, it seems like. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, even just from the time that we started using Sigma to now, our use cases have evolved so dramatically. Because like when we first took it on, it was, and we first started using it, it was 2 years ago. It was mostly a data analysis tool. Input tables had just sort of become a thing, right? So, data apps were nowhere close to being rolled out. And we were mostly looking at it as a means of just automating our reporting. Well, now there's all this process stuff that can be automated within this, and then you can build reporting on top of that. That wasn't possible previously. So just in 2 years that this is where we've come. And it's like, well, I just have a lot of faith that 2 years from now, right, there's going to be all these other enhancements that we probably never thought were even possible or didn't even sniff originally. Chase and I aren't developers, right? Like we don't have formal SQL certifications, right? We've kind of learned this stuff from the ground up. We both started as associates in this company. We weren't analysts when we started with the organization. Like we're self-taught with everything. So I think seeing us be able to do this stuff, there's a lot of companies out there that have people in them that are probably way smarter than us and can probably build, way more robust tools than we could ever come up with.